Hello, Exiles. This is Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming, and welcome to another Path of Exile video. Today I'm going to do, I guess, what's going to end up being my wrap-up for my Delirium Everywhere character. It is a Exsanguinate Inquisitor, and full cold conversion with Heatshiver and Marohi Erqi with Battlemage, which I get through Instruments of Virtue. So I've been playing this, and I've managed to get my first couple of things unlocked here, my first couple of favored maps. I did that by doing a Pit of the Chimera, which was 66% Delirious. As you can see, I don't have a lot of my maps, my red maps filled out. I basically got dunes from a divination card, a corrupted dunes, ran that, got like an ashen woods, and from the dunes I actually got the Pit of the Chimera, so I did that. It's been, well, not so great. I'm gonna jump into a silo really quick. It's got power charges and frenzy charges and less effective curses and consecrated ground, so it might be a little tough depending on the delirium level. I have no idea what the delirium level is going to be, because, well, kind of in uncharted territory at this point, and I don't think It Fights Back has updated his spreadsheet, so anything higher is going to be a little bit... Okay, it's only 43%, so this is just going to be a tier 12 map. As you can see, I am running Righteous Fire now. I do not have low life yet, so I'm just going to do a quick map, show that, I guess. Alright. Oop. And yeah, essence mobs have been a bit tough in this, but as you can see, we are freezing it. But the consecrated ground is making it a lot more durable in terms of it is healing up. But the damage is there. The damage has always been there. I've done like 100% delirious maps. I've done, you know, Guardians on 66% delirium. I've done a Guardian at 66, so the damage is definitely there. And I think this would actually be very strong as a league starter, a very cheap league starter, because all of my gear is solo self-found except for the 3 uniques I bought for a total of 10 chaos at the beginning of this event. That will probably be even cheaper in a regular trade league where there's more players and therefore higher availability of the uniques. So you could probably get maybe for like 6 or less chaos within the first day or so the core uniques for this build. But as far as the Delirium Everywhere, yeah, it was ambitious. I hadn't tried it before. I hadn't even theory crafted it. I kind of just thought of doing it because, well, I had no idea what else I was going to do, and I wanted to run a Battlemage Marohi Erqi character since the beginning of the league, but hadn't gotten a chance to try it yet. Oop, ran right into that. So we got a Frost Strider. Let's try to... Oop, might die here. There you go. Let's get out of that. Defenses could be better. As you can see, I am getting pretty low pretty frequently. I'm slowly accumulating more regen and more max res. I was planning on getting additional max res as one of the influences on my body armor. You can get, I think with Grands, you can get +2 to all max res on your body armor. So I was planning on doing that, but I haven't really gotten into altar farming yet because it's been difficult. One of the things that's hard about progressing through red maps in this particular event is that you have to corrupt rares to get your red map completion, and if you get unlucky with the corruption, you get an 8 mod with like multiple mods that you can't, that are already difficult for the build, and then it's also like a high level of delirious, like 90 plus delirium. I kind of just have to either back out or try to just rush the boss. I have been successful in some of those circumstances, but there's certain instances where I just can't run the map, and if you know, I'm wasting maps, I'm going to have a much harder time going through. And this is particularly egregious because of the way that I thought would be a good idea to set up my Atlas passive tree for this, which didn't work out as well as I'd hoped. So, but I'll go over everything here. I don't think as soon as I complete this map. Oh, what's this guy back here? I can't. It must be an exile, but I can't see what it is. Oh, there he is. All right. It was the bow guy. All right. But damage is all right, but very, very kind of inconsistent. But yeah, if we can freeze the like essence mobs and red maps, that means that the base damage of this is very good. So it should be more than enough to take care of any normal kind of league start where you're not having like 50% reduced damage against monsters and plus 20% monster damage on like every map or close to every map. So my plan was to get Ashen Woods as my favorite map because I think it's only 43% delirious and it's tier 14, so I could set up like an altar farming strategy there. And that was kind of my plan. I did the first couple of mini bosses. I could probably have pushed to do Eater of Worlds and the other one. Oh man, yeah, the Consecrated Ground is making this boss fight fun. Go ahead and, yeah, look at him heal. Ooh, yeah, the damage is just as there. You can see we are freezing him sometimes. I'm on a 6 link now, finally. I ended up having to get that from a Geomancer's Incubator that I got from Legion, which is actually pretty common. I would say pretty often the 6 links I end up using will be from Geomancer's Incubators. See, I don't know if they buffed the drop rate of Geomancer's Incubators, but I seem to get them all the time. Like, very, very frequently these days when farming Legion. Maybe they were always that common and I just wasn't aware of it. But, okay, so now we should be able to kill him. Hopefully, if he doesn't get onto the Consecrated Ground too much. All right, there you go. That was a bit sketchy, but we made it work. Yeah, and that was at a pretty low level of delirium as well. So that is a bit rough. That's not a terrible ring. Not that it matters, but I've been holding on to a bunch of like random decent equipment like I always do, and that I will never use. But I'll go over the gear. Nothing's changed as far as the Marohi Erqi or the Heatshiver. I do have a +1 socketed gems Hrimsorrow, which I put Determination, which I failed the 21 naturally, and Hatred in, as well as Assassin's Mark. And I did 21 my Vitality. So yeah, I have Exsanguinate with Hypothermia, Cruelty, increased critical damage, Unleash, and increased critical strikes. And I actually got a Gloomfang, which I obviously I lost a bunch of stats, which means I lost a bunch of crit chance. My base crit chance without my mark up is and without my flasks up is 59.68. Goes up to 70.88 with the flasks up, and then with the Assassin's Mark it puts pretty close to cap. So we were getting there. I just I'm not enjoying this league or this event. I really enjoyed the Mayhem event. I liked the Infinite Delve deck or event, not quite as much, but yeah, this event just isn't really doing it for me. It just seems like things are arbitrarily hard. You'll hit like weird walls, like the maps. All of the tier 9 maps, I think, like Residence is 100%. I think every tier 9 map just about was like high delirium or terrible layout, like Desert's a bad layout. It might have been both. I think Desert had like decent delirium, but Desert has a terrible layout. And I think the rest of these maps had really high delirium, and so I ended up getting stuck in upper yellow maps for a while. I should have just moved on, and I probably could have just moved on. And I accidentally forgot to corrupt my belfry when I completed it too. So yeah, I'm just running into a lot of trouble with this one. I think it is doable, and I had to spec out of a lot of damage to make sure I could sustain Righteous Fire. But Righteous Fire in turn gives me a lot of damage when I have that on. It's quite a bit. Like I do 34,000 to 51,000 cold damage, which is fairly significant. And then when we crit, that's basically true damage as well, because of our ascendancy, the inevitable judgment. So that's really solid, and that gets spiked up considerably after the first cast, the 3 additional casts afterwards because of Heatshiver. Like I'll lose 41% of the damage, but then gain 130%, and it is the full 130% as well, because we're penetrating all of it instead of having like cold exposure on the Frostblades build, which means we're going to be doing more cold damage and some of our fire damage is going to be resisted. That's not the case here. We'll do 100% of the cold damage and then another 130% all of the time with the Heatshiver. So that's kind of the cool thing about Templar. Might make it harder to run Trinity if I wanted to do so, but right now I need both crit strikes and crit damage, because without the crit damage, I got so used to running Nightblade. Without the crit damage, our crit multi is really low. It's 210%, which is just really bad. I'm used to having like 800% plus 8 to 900% crit multi, close to 1,000 in some cases with my Nightblade on the Frostblades character. So yeah, this is a little bit awkward. Skill tree wise, I think I changed quite a bit. I had to like spec out of this point, which lost me 20 something percent damage. I had it on the increased spell damage per 16 int. I decided even with Unleash it wasn't worth getting the extra number of seals, because it was just too long of a wait. It felt like an actual damper on my DPS instead of a boon to it, I guess you could say. And in order to get Righteous Fire, I had to get Golem's Blood along with Soul of Steel, Prismatic Skin, this max fire res, Barbarism, and Anointed Flesh. Now, if I got another +2 max fire resist, maybe I could spec out of all these points and put them into more damage, because that would save me 5 points, which I could put Arcane Potency. I mean, I'm going to level up and grab that Arcane Potency anyway, which will be helpful. But then I could also get this Caster Mastery. I could get the 8% damage for each of my Auras Mastery. So I could get a lot of stuff there, and then I'd still have a couple of points to put into like these life nodes, or maybe moving towards here because at least it gives fizz damage, or start moving up towards Relentless and getting the 40% increased physical damage with skills that cost life. So having all of that set up would be very useful. I do kind of like Gloomfang. It doesn't benefit us that much. It literally just gives the +1 chain, but it means I don't have to run a gem swap. I can just keep Hypothermia in. I don't have to swap for chain. If I got a Yoke of Suffering or like a really good amulet, like plus to physical or plus to all skill levels and crit multi amulet or something super nice like that, I might just do the gem swap anyway. But as it stands, I think Gloomfang is actually a really good solution, so you don't have to constantly switch out. I didn't lose that much damage dropping my amulet. Like I have the other amulet I had was right here. I lose a little life, of course, but yeah, 168,000 DPS. It goes up to 174. So I don't lose that much DPS. The opportunity cost is for not having to gem swap for me is worth it. So I would say in the beginning, it would definitely be worth taking a Gloomfang until you get like a Yoke of Suffering or some other very, very good amulet, some crazy deeps amulet. But other than that, I'm kind of running a lot of the same gear with more regen now. I fit some regen here. Body armor is new. I haven't gotten the correct things as far as the Searing Exarch and Eater of World Influence on here yet, because I haven't gotten that many of them. But I got life, some resistances, physical damage reduction, and then more life. I will swap the armor evasion life roll over from that to be something else at some point. I'm at exactly 15,000 armor without any of my flasks up, which is kind of nice. So I get armor from these two. I go up to a little over 21,500. That's still a little bit low, even with the additional physical damage reduction. So I would probably want to, I'm working on getting, I actually have a mastermind here, but I'm not going to bother doing that on this. Also, I'm probably just going to switch over to something else now. In fact, what I am going to do, I should probably let you know, is my next videos are all going to be testing various ascendancies, doing the Frostblade's Heatshiver. I have a champion already built, and I'll have that fully ready hopefully by tomorrow. And then I plan on doing a cultist, although I might hold out on that depending on how the Curse Manifesto, which should come out in a few hours, ends up being. So I'll probably wait on that. But yeah, I was planning on getting Gravicious, who I think is here, because I remember I got like Gravicious moves into Fortification. So even though I haven't actually run into him, I have Gravicious here, and I was going to get the elemental or physical taken as elemental to kind of compensate for my armor, which could be a lot higher still. It would be helpful overall. Another thing I learned from this character that was very useful is how good spell suppression really is. So I have max resists, and I never really thought about it, but in order to reach the level with max resists that you basically reach just for having 100% spell suppression, you need at least 88 all max res, and that still doesn't account for spells that do chaos damage hits or physical damage hits, which spell suppression will also mitigate 50 or 53% depending on if you take the one notable, or up to 56%. So honestly, spell suppression is got to be pretty much always just better than max res, unless you can get 90% for all of your resistances, including chaos, and then high armor as well. So unless you can get like 50,000 plus armor and 90 of all resistances, including chaos resist, spell suppress is just vastly superior. And I never really thought about it too much before. I only have the 9% spell suppression currently. So that is something to consider for sure. Yeah, I would recommend this build if you want to play something different and interesting. I think the damage potential is absolutely through the roof in a regular league when you're not playing Delirium. Like if I was given the opportunity to progress through the maps normally before I started doing like juiced delirious maps, got like all of my map slots and all of my watchstones and everything, my gear level and my level would be much higher, and I'd be doing a ton more damage, and I'd be way tankier, and then I could go do 100% delirious maps after that if I wanted to do so, because the fact that even with really scuffed gear and kind of almost no damage on the tree, I mean, like you can count the amount of damage I actually have on the tree. I even spec'd out of Cannibalistic Right so that I could be tankier. So I'm literally just getting damage from Iron Will and these two nodes. And of course I'm getting crit as well. But as far as actual like just damage, I have Retribution, Light of Divinity, Holy Dominion, these two small nodes, and then just Iron Will. And I guess I needed this jewel for the dex, and this is also giving me 10% damage. So yeah, there's a lot that could be done still to push the damage here. A few levels, like I said, would go a long way, or just a little bit more max res would go a long way, because normally by this stage I'd be doing Guardian maps. I'd have altar, or I'd been doing some altar farming, and I'd have the right influences on my chest already. So yeah, and then of course we're still close to a lot of 2-socket jewels, like 4 of them still, and also cluster jewels. So there's a lot of things that could be switched around in that regard as well. So big stuff there. It's a cool build, and I'll probably revisit it in the future, assuming Heatshiver doesn't get nerfed. I'll probably come back to it at some point, probably next league. Possibly, maybe I'll league start at solo self-found. Then I can, before I get the Marohi Erqi, I can use like other two-handed weapons, or just whatever the highest damage weapon, maybe a really high damage one-hander and a shield, to kind of pull off the same thing and see how it works, because the damage effectiveness of Exsanguinate is very high. Almost everything that's higher damage effectiveness than it requires a lot of like, you need extra projectiles, or you need something special, and the only hoop you really have to jump through with Exsanguinate is chain, and you don't really need that. It's just really helpful for clearing. So yeah, cool build. Bad event, I'm not a fan. Like I said, I don't have a problem with difficulty. I loved Mayhem. It was probably one of my favorite events of all time. I do like the game being harder, but not in this particular way. Just, you know, making things take like in between 50 and 93, or whatever the top end for Delirium is, less damage. Not fun for me. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. That is the character wrap up. I'll leave a POB in the description below. Hope you enjoyed the video. This has been Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming, and I will see you next time. Bye.